Good morning and welcome. Welcome to my office. Welcome to Groundhog Day. Welcome to January 17th and another run at what I like to call Who Am I? A little space in this world where we gather. Actually, no one has gathered with me. No one physical anyway. We gather in this space and we just riff and discuss and think about the question. And it really is a question. It's an open question. It's a question that changes in some ways, nanosecond to nanosecond. There is an aspect of you that changes. And eternally and always, there's another aspect of you that in its essence, both of them in their essence never change. But at any given moment, who am I? Who am I? Who am I being? Who am I? What's the setup? And in this moment, who am I being? Those are two different questions. One is the sum total of who you are, how you are designed. It's just the setup itself, the understanding the medium that we are swimming in, how reality itself comes into being, plays into this in a very big way, as you might suspect. How reality itself comes into being. What are the rules and laws that govern the universe? In a general way. I'm talking general and layman's perspective. I'm not talking about the mathematics of the specialist. I'm just saying, what's the general setup? How does reality come into being? How am I creating my own reality, my very own particular flavor of reality? How am I doing that? How are my thoughts turning into things? All those questions. Now, for 35 years, Abraham Hicks has been helping us to answer some of that, for sure. And so very cool, so very profound. This universe that we live in is just breathtakingly amazing, the setup. So, the two aspects of the question of who am I are: who am I as the setup embedded in the field? How does the field function? How does it function across itself? Because the interesting thing about this field is the universe is holographic. The way this field operates passes the information of the small up to the all, and the wholeness, the whole package of the of all the information of the allness is passed down to each point. The universe really is holographic, and that turns out that really matters. It really matters. It matters to your position. It matters to your understanding of what is possible for you. Turns out anything is possible. Anything is possible. And I wouldn't stare too much at the problems that humanity is facing right at this moment. I'm air quoting problems. They are problems. Yes, indeed. And each and every being on the ground where a problem abides in their vicinity and they are forced to look at it. Or you can have contemplated the whole thing and recognize what the whole thing is. And what it is life. We are getting better. That stuff that we're asking for, that wisdom that we are wishing. Let me look at something. Where is my mic set at? Looks like it's set okay. Okay, I'm sorry. And of course I derail my own discussion when I do that. It's because I rose to the surface and looked at something around me and So, who am I? Who am I as the quantum field? How does this field work? This holographic, fractal, um, field of infinite creation possibility. How does it work? How do I create my own reality within it? Actually, I'm going to pause really quick. So the two-pronged question was, who am I as the setup? And that's a big question. And then on the ground, as you're moving, the other question is, who am I being in this moment? And I want to boil this down to its most abstract place. I'm not talking about, I don't have anything to say about the very specifics of where you are as you answer this question. It is in any moment, there is an impulse that you are following. And where is this impulse coming from makes all the difference in the world. If you can get this impulse into a clear place, so you're just following the pure impulses coming from the field around you, as it is suggesting it's so interesting to describe this. So who am I? Who am I? Who am I? How does this work? How does this world work? How does this body function? How does this field operate? I do believe that it is knowable. I have always believed that it was knowable, and all you needed to do was keep thinking about it and looking at it. Input more and more and more information. As a matter of fact, there is a way that you can input all of your own information into a single place that then starts ordering itself in a really interesting way. I call it that room where everything goes. And it's a room in my mind. It's just a place where all things are. Everything goes. There's an open pipeline. You don't have to understand stuff to have it go in there. It just goes in there. You know, I don't understand it, but there it happened, and I felt something about it, and I don't know what to make of it. It may or may not fit into the scenario of what I was taught about what was true about reality. Most people's, if they were raised formally, most people's framework about what's true comes from a religious background. That you have somewhere in the background is a religious cosmology telling you this is what's really going on at the base of this universe. It's God, it's Jesus, it's the devil, it's, the Holy Spirit, whatever it is that they're teaching you. Or that it's Buddha, it's I don't mean to be so. I was raised in a mostly Christian country. I disagree with people who like to call the United States a Christian country. But it's a framework that I'm familiar with anyway. Forgive me for being Christian prejudiced. I'm really not. It's just that I myself was raised in a kind of Christian. Although some people disagree with the characterization of this particular religion as Christian, I thought it certainly must be Christian because Jesus was in there. Jesus reigns very big in this religion. So most people have somewhere in their analytical mind, somewhere in their setup of how they believe the world unfolds, some kind of religious some kind of mythology, some kind of religious mythology. But they probably aren't taking it as mythology. They're probably taking it as concrete truth, historical fact, and somehow that physical historical event I don't know. I don't have much to say about religion. except for if you can take it with an open mind. Don't push, neither believe it without it making sense to you, nor push it away as though it's some kind of evil or threat. Don't push your religion away, neither believe it without prejudice. When I was growing up, I saw a lot of people believing that they would use their faith. Faith is a thing. Faith is a thing within your mechanism, and it works a particular way to bridge things that don't seem to make sense in your analytical mind. And there is a place for faith, and there is a place not for faith. It is very dangerous to put faith to bridge things that are nonsense. You don't use faith to bridge things that don't make sense. That's not what you use faith for. I had a personal mantra my entire life, and I would advise all children to be raised with this as up front. Believe in yourself, first of all. Believe in yourself. There is something very powerfully good about you in there somewhere. And it's trying to express to you, and it's trying to live through you. So go find it and appreciate it. That's one thing. Another thing is, don't believe what does not make sense to you. Don't use your faith muscle to bridge something that does not make any sense to you. And I saw a lot of people doing that within the religion. They would they would use their faith, and they would go, well, what this religion is telling me about the shape of the universe does not make any sense to me, but I'm supposed to believe it because it's my religion, and my bishop is telling me this, and all my people around me are telling me this, and so this is what I'm supposed to be believing. So I'm going to use, but it doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm going to have faith that they are right. Well, I guess I can see the value in that to a point. But there comes a point where it needs to make sense to you. If it doesn't make sense to you, you shouldn't have your faith there. Faith is an important thing. It's a really important thing. My faith was in a different place. My faith was in a spirit. My faith was in the spirit of okayness. I believed somehow, contrary to what it might look like in any given moment, that somehow it was okay. Whatever it was okay. The shape of life after death, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it must be okay. It's okay. It's okay. Us being here is okay. We've been here forever. We're all in this together. It must be okay. Where else? What else could it be besides okay? And actually, the okayness became it. Actually, I didn't even need to put my faith there because it made sense that it was okay. What is that room where everything goes? It's interesting. So, your positive and negative emotions are a very interesting and important piece of this puzzle. What do my emotions mean? What are my emotions? I'm wondering whether I feel like talking about what I usually talk about this morning, or whether I just want to go talk about something else and use any of these slides to assist me as I go if they should happen to come up, instead of just saying, well, this is what we're talking about every day. This is your emotional guidance system. This is how your inner being is trying to communicate with you. Now, this is not anybody's news. Abraham has been talking about this for 35 years, trying to explain to us that we are... So, you are two beings. You are two beings that is one being. Isn't that interesting? You are divinely two beings. And you are divinely a combination of the two, making a new one, a wholeness, which is a third thing. You are one, you are another, you are the blend of those two, which becomes a third thing. Isn't that interesting? And in a general way, what does that remind you of? When you're talking about divinity. That's what they're talking about. That's what those religions are talking about. This is what they are alluding to. They are alluding to the nature and shape of your own self, your own soul, your own binary system. It's a very matter-of-fact thing, can be understood very matter-of-factly, and yet you're talking about something that is just so deep and so sacred and so reverent. This is who we are. This is the shape of us. Who am I? Who am I? That's the question of the day, right? Who am I? Well, you are this binary self. One is the conventional you, encased in your meat form. It's the one that goes to the doctor. It's the one that drives the car. It's the one that needs to be fed, go to sleep. It's the one that has the choice of thinking any thoughts that you want. You have total free agency. You can think thoughts that are in alignment with the source and the truth and reality of the physics and the atoms and the quantum field around you, or you can think thoughts. You can go in any direction. You are the most blessed being and the most cursed. Who are you? Who are you, and how does this work? So you are these two selves, and the one self is, like I said, it's the conventional one, the one that you think of, the one that you know. But you have another one which is actually not separate from the meat self. You are a whole system, and actually your whole system is embedded within another whole system. It's all integers, all the way up and all the way down. It's whole systems, it's morphogenetic fields of wholeness. So you are these two things, and these two things have they have completely different aspects. They are very different from each other, and yet they are not separate from each other. It's very much like the field around you is. The field around you is the formless. I'm going to air quote that. The formless is this field around you. The quantum field itself is the formless. And yet, the way that it is, it's like cosmic Play-Doh, this superfluid that gives rise to phenomenon, basically. So it's the formless giving rise to the form. Well, within you are this field too, and so you are that. You are the formless giving rise to the form. And your formless aspect is this source mind. It's this vibrational interface, you could call it, but it's to call it an interface is to not give it credit for as much as it is. It is so many things, this vibrational interface between you and all the physicality of all of the universe, this aspect of you that is in touch with all of it. That's your inner being. That's your source mind. Your source mind is aware of all reality around you through the vibration of the quantum field. It's what is the quantum field? It's like this solid pack, super dense field of Plancks, and when they go into spin, they create form around us, and when they don't go into spin, they are still solid pack, dense Plancks in the field around you, touching each other. They're all interacting with each other, and through this jiggle across space-time, they're communicating all the information of all the universe all the way across the grid. We are holographic. You are holographic. And how interesting is that? That means you are the whole universe from where you are. And actually, everything is. All of the universe is everywhere. Nothing's left out. that gives rise to a lot of interesting questions and realizations. Oh, that means the universe knows who I am, knows where I am, because all of the information of everything is everywhere. I am not hidden. God really does see everything. God really is everywhere. There is such a thing as the Almighty, and I think of it as the allness that surrounds us, the wholeness of the universe, the integer that is this universe, and all the scales of data flow and information running up and down and the screening processes and the it's all spin. It's all spin, by the way. That's another thing, an important thing to understand about it. It's all spin. It's an infinitude of individuated spins coming out of the primordial spin. It's also, so we did say it was vibrational. We're going to jump into this part of the presentation early. Instead, this is usually late into the program. The program, I'm air quoting again, but I don't want to go over there and find it. Oh, it's right here. The program. These are cymatic patterns. The reason I pull these up is to help us understand that the universe is vibrational. You really need to understand, you need to feel, you need to see how logical, how much sense it makes. All of these things, how they add together, how they add up. They really do resonate with one another. They feel like they coexist in the same thought frame. So these are cymatic patterns, and cymatics is the study of of the relationship between vibration and form. That's what cymatics is, the study of the relationship between vibration and form. And these forms have been digitally created through some sort of digital device that, you pipe frequency through it and it produces different patterns. Different frequency, different pattern. Always a different frequency, a different pattern, just like a snowflake. No two ever the same. Different frequency, different pattern. Slightly different frequency, maybe slightly different pattern. I don't know. I don't study cymatics, but I know how that works. Now, these are some cymatic patterns that you see in nature, the upper left and lower right. You can see those. Now, upper right and lower left, this is the original way cymatics was discovered and studied, and perhaps still is. This is, you take a metal plate, you put a granular medium on the top, salt, sand, something like that. Hopefully of a contrasting color. Plug in a frequency, pipe a frequency through that plate, and lo and behold, a pattern appears within the sand on top. The higher the frequency, the more complex the pattern. Different frequency, different pattern as you're going from one pattern to the next. The first pattern sort of dissolves and a new pattern begins to form. Sometimes holding some aspects of the old pattern, while others fall away. Think of that as being analogous to the times. I hear that our frequency is rising. I believe that somehow life itself is evolving. The way that it does it is through this feedback system of information. It's universal consciousness. It's the universe learning about itself. There's a feedback. It's a very simple feedback, yes, no feedback system. It's so easy that any creature can do it. All creatures can do it. An amoeba can do it. A snail can do it. The feedback mechanism has to do with yes, no. Yes, no. And It's the way biology is moving. You, I got to work on this before I start talking out loud. Let's go back to we are evolving. The frequency is at least changing. If you don't think it's rising, well, and if I don't have a good way of explaining how come I believe our frequency is rising, I've read things like that there are energy fields out in space that orbit the galaxy, that our planet, the plane of our solar system, moves in and out of their long cycles of energy infusion into our general space, you could say. And we've moved into one, I can't remember what it's called. I should go back and look at that book and see what this particular one was called. But it's a phase that will last 1,000 years on planet Earth before we move out of that plane of it's an energy band, or it's a the plane of our the orbit of our solar system in our part of the galaxy moves into this higher energy zone of the field of the galaxy, and we're there for 1,000 years. That in itself would cause the frequencies to rise. Well, that's a good thing. That's probably helping us in our quest to know who we are and operate from our broader perspective, which we're going to go back to that. We're going to go back to talking about that because I think that's what's important. I think that's what's interesting. After all, the question of the day is, who am I? Who am I? And how do I function? This is actually my favorite slide. I just like to sit here and look at this one because this one is illustrative of your two aspects. You have your vibrational aspect. Think of it as your inner being. If you're a religious person, if you've had any kind of religious now I'm sorry if my the language that I use tends to mostly be reference to Christian religions. I promise you I'm not prejudiced in this direction. I just don't know the words. I don't know what the you know what? I do know words. I do know words. I'm not gonna say that. As a matter of fact, I use all kinds of different jargon from different religions. So I take back my apology. I'm not apologizing. I'm just gonna say it the way I'm. So this inner being, this vibrational aspect of you, if you have a religious background, you might be calling it something like the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost. And you may have been taught to respect its guidance. If so, then your religion is a good one, and it is largely leading you along beautiful organizational paths. You are organizing in harmonious and helpful, peaceful ways. And that's a good thing. Always a good thing. Always a good thing. The only comfort that I have in these rough early days as I develop my craft, which is my ability to go into this abstractly and explain it in a matter-of-fact way to anybody who wants to know. That's my craft. The only comfort I have right now is in these early days, as it's kind of rough and unpolished, is that nobody's really listening. So it's just me practicing, me in front of my microphone. Maybe at some point somebody's going to listen to this, but so far I've given this this channel out to several people, and nobody yet has listened to anything. I think my daughter listened to something once. There's 2 listens on an early recording, but it's been a while since anybody's listened. So that's the beauty of this. I can just let my hair down and try to come at this. Usually when I'm describing this to people, I'm coaching people. Almost the only people I talk to are my daughters. One of them sometimes objects to being coached, and often really likes it, but sometimes I get a little too teachy. So who am I? Who am I? Remember, you are this vibrational dual being, one who is the quantum field, and the other one is the form that that field has given rise to. Now, you aren't separated from the field around you, and there is a momentum of motion in the field around you that you are a part of. But you are also an autonomous individuation of the field around you. You are both. You are both part of the allness, part of the Almighty, and you are your own individual self. But as your individual self, you have access to all of the information of the whole, too. So it's a very, very, very special universe that we exist within. That's one of the things that you need to really start respecting. How perfect the universe is, how responsive the universe is, how how much control you have over your own life without really directly having control over the conditions around you. You don't need to have control over the conditions around you. Think of the conditions as being a moving jump rope. Actually, jillions and jillions of moving jump ropes. Going round and round and round. People, it's a rough analogy. What you don't have control over all of those jump ropes. What you have control over is your own timing. Actually, that's an interesting analogy. You could think of life experience and the field around you as being all of these moving jump ropes, all going round and round and round, and depending on this is actually what it is. They're all spinning, and the timing on them as that rope goes around. Wow, I've got an interesting analogy to ponder later how that works, because what you have control over is your own timing and how you are meshing with how those jump ropes out there are spinning. It's not exactly jump ropes, but you're jumping in on spinning, on events in motion, and what your timing is. Is your impulses to timing, do they cause you to open the door just as the family is fighting with each other, or as they are in loving, peaceful harmony? Or perhaps they're fighting with each other, and your timing about it is because you are such a fabulous peacemaker, and you have this way of being able to cut right to the chase, and that ongoing problem that's been happening with your family, right in that moment, what you know could be brought to that situation, and peace could be brought to this family. Maybe that's why the timing. It's not always all about oh, I like peace, and so it has to be peaceful when I walk in on it. Maybe it's not peace in exactly the right moment where you would have some sort of loving, kind take on the situation that would soothe the whole thing and bring order to a not ordered situation. That brings me to it. There, that's what it is. Order wants to be. Order wants to be. So, who am I? Who am I? You are a two-pronged being. You are the form and the formless. You are the formless giving rise to the form. And within this order, there is a pull to order. There's a pull in this order. There's a pull to order. Wow, I need to work on that. As a matter of fact, today's presentation, for the most part, is junk. It had a couple of moments of inspired, just flashes of genius, but for the most part, it's been a little bit incoherent. What is she driving to? What is she driving to? Well, if you've listened to the ones before this, you actually know what my presentation is. You already know what I'm saying. We are this vibrational self. We are this vibrational combination of beings. It's you, yourself, and your conventional skin. But this you and your conventional skin has more of you than that. There is more of you than that. And your inner being isn't just guiding you. Your inner being is you. It's all you. As a matter of fact, when you come right down to it, there isn't... Okay. So me is me in my physical body and my vibrational aspect who is in touch with all of the things. That's me. Now, the rest of the physicality is not necessarily me, but I have access to it. How about that? That's interesting. I was about to say there's nothing in this universe that is not you. And in a way, that's true, because the field is, it doesn't have borders and boundaries. The field is one amorphous thing. There is no demarcation in some ways. There is, in the field itself, there isn't. There is phenomenon playing out within the field. That's true. And that has landmarks and features and stuff, but nothing lasts. It all comes into being and then goes. It comes and goes. It becomes and begoes. It's in constant flux. The field of the phenomenal aspect of it is always changing. The ground state of what it's made of, what it all is, never changes. It is these plonks, these pixels. Oh, I need to go make some more slides. As a matter of fact, pardon me, I can do that really quick. So forgive me, I've taken a long break and I don't have any idea what I was thinking about before, except that this break started when I ran off to capture this picture. So I'm going to assume I was talking something about, made me want to illustrate the pixelization of space-time around us, what it looks like. And it's solid pack this. And anyway, today's program has been pretty much junk. I'm not even sure I'm going to upload it to YouTube. Maybe I will as a record. But it hasn't had a very good flow, has it? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Let's go back to this. Let's go back to your emotional guidance scale and how this is a representation of momentum, positive and negative. This illustrates the momentum a little bit more. Here's another one that shows the momentum of negative emotions and the momentum of positive emotions. This is how your experience of this plays out. So you are two selves. You are your conventional self and you are your vibrational self. That's the rest of you. You could think of the individuation that is you in your physical body combined with that vibrational aspect of you that is in touch with and touching all the rest of the universe. That's you. And your source aspect is in touch with reality, with what is actually going on, how your blood is pumping, where your atoms are located, how the wind is blowing, how the planet is spinning, how the universe is organized, how the spin of the solar system and the spin of the galaxy and the spin of the cluster and the supercluster and the universe and the multiverse. It's all spin within spin within spin, and it's all spin is what's organizing everything. And the power and I remember where I was a little while ago that I thought was interesting. The control that you do have. So there's a lot of control you don't have. You do not have specific direct physical control over any of the conditions transpiring around you. They will be what they will be. They are spinning the way that they are spinning. And you don't have any control over that. But what you do have control over, it's the only thing you need control over. It has to do with the way that your being is going to rendezvous with the way that the rest of that is spinning. What do you meet up with? Is it going to be a chaotic flow that's a bumpy ride where you stub your toe a lot and you get a lot of grief along the way? Or is it going to be a smoother ride, more satisfying as it happens, more in order with the kinds of things you even want to do, Not just, I'm capable of this, and so the universe has slapped it on me. But, if you want to get more in alignment with the path that is pleasant for you, and you don't even have to know what that path is, through feeling, through spirit, through this cosmic way that the universe records things, your inner being has taken full note of every preference you have ever expressed or not expressed. Any preference you have ever noted or felt. Any preference you have ever felt. And you don't even have to have put words to it. Your inner being knows. When you felt pain, your inner being knew exactly what you were crying out for. You don't have to have known, but it's a spirit, it's a vibration is what your inner being is holding. But it's not just that, because it's connected to all the stuff too. And all the stuff is spinning, and it has continued to spin since you called your preference, and your inner being is taking note of. So it's all very complex, and you can get your mind into a knot thinking about it, or you can realize that it's actually quite simple. Your inner being is aware of all things, but what it's looking at. So it's like you're sitting in a environment where you're aware of a lot more things than you are consciously focusing on, right? So I'm aware of the heater over there and the lamps, I'm aware of all of things around me that I'm not necessarily looking at. I think your inner being on your behalf, or that aspect of your inner being that is you, is kind of like that. It is aware of all things, but it's looking at what you like. That aspect of your inner being that is you, what it's looking at, what it's focusing on, is those things that you like. And there's a great deal of things that fall under that umbrella. There's a lot of choices that you could have to follow your inner being's guidance and what you like at the same time. Your inner being knows all of the things that you like, and they're going to run along the lines of, we're not that mysterious or that different from one another. I'll tell you what we like, and I'll tell you what we want. We like systems that operate and function efficiently, that fulfill the needs of the greater field around us, because I, for one, don't like to be doing well in an environment where everybody around me is not doing well. I don't like that. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I would have a hard time in some countries on this planet because those who are not doing well are in your face all over the place. So it's hard to focus around that. I don't like that. I want systems that operate efficiently. I want freedom for all of us to choose our path. In a way, you do have that freedom, but the only real freedom that you have that no one can take away from you is your freedom to emit your vibrational offering unto the universe. That what you offer vibrationally to the universe, no one can stop you from. No one can impose it from the outside. You get to choose. And as a matter of fact, if you mind that power and get into the center of your being and start intentionally developing a positive momentum in some direction that pleases you. Excuse me. So, when you get all the way down to clarity, your desires are the universe's desires. This is how the universe desires, through the individuals that comprise its total makeup. So, wow, today really is scrambled. I don't think I'm going to put today's up. I think I'm going to... What am I going to do with today's? There were some moments, but there wasn't a clear message. I riffed for a minute about this and that. I could pull this one in. This is an interesting one. Is this an interesting one? This is what you do about being in a negative state of emotion. You don't want to be in a negative state of emotion, although you're never mad at yourself for being in a negative state of emotion. It's just, oops, I thought a thought that my inner being is not interested in. What my inner being is interested in is everything I want. And so that's what my inner being is always looking at. My inner being is always looking at what I want. And when I'm not looking at what I want, there's a discord between our frequencies. Now, you may think all the time that you are looking at what you want, but sometimes what you're looking at instead is the absence of what I want. I'm looking at that subject, but I'm staring at its absence as opposed to feeling what that vibrational presence is. So that's really the key. Every subject is two subjects. It's the presence of the wanted, or there's the absence of it. It's just not there. And you have to get into the practice of focusing on the end of the stick where what you want is there. It's a particular vibration. And whatever vibrational offering you are giving to the universe, it's responding to. And it's responding in manners of timing is a lot of what is happening. big things are lining up. They are spinning in the broader world in a, well, everything is spinning, and I'm spinning, you're spinning, we're all spinning at slightly different rates. That's how come you are not occupying the exact same space on the grid that I am, because I'm spinning here and you're spinning there, and your spins are taking you into different what would be a good way to it's like the universe of it's like the world is spinning jump ropes all around you, and your inner being is trying to guide you to the timing of entering the right jump ropes at the right time. That's not exactly what it is. They're all spinning discs themselves, and sometimes they are in better places and happier places, or less happy places, or more chaotic places, or whatever. And what you are rendezvousing with has to do with how your inner being is impulsing your timing on things, both large and small. Both large and small, leading you to the big things that you want, as well as the little things that you want here and now. And the idea is always to please you. And your inner being knows what pleases you, because that's actually what that's what your inner being is. And your vortex of creation is this collection of everything that you have ever said you want, as you have said it in physicality, and how that physicality has been spinning ever since, and what it's been gathering with, and how it has been dancing. It's become more. It's baked in. It's like you've been throwing all these ingredients into a great recipe for some delicious something that you are really gonna like, because it is composed of all the everything that you have ever said that you preferred. It's that impulse to preference, that better, to the more, to the expanded. It's that impulse is our soul. That's where our inner being actually is at that point of desire, that impulse that you are. So it's very important that you stay on positive in positive states of being. Now, it doesn't mean that you aren't allowed to dip into a negative state of being, because you are a human being and this is how it works. You have to bumble into a step one or two before you have to stumble into some step oneing, or you will never identify a preference. The step one aspect is just you getting a little blip, or a great big mouthful, or a slap across the face, or something you don't like. That causes you to emit that preference. It's a spirit, it's a vibration. This is what I want. And as you emit it, it's connected to actual reality in some way. Right there, it happened in time, it was in reference to matter, it had a relationship between you and there was a reality to it. You emitted that preference, your inner being marked it, because your inner being is always looking at what you want. Always what you want, because what you want is freedom and joy and love and exhilaration and meaningful moments, or whatever floats your boat. Adrenaline rushes, or big... Who are you? Who are you? Who am I? We're different, but we're the same. We're made of the same stuff. We are part of the same species, which, by the way, is a single morphogenetic field unto this planet. But we are different, and your inner being knows what you want, and my inner being knows what I want. And at the clear heart of all that, what I want blends and meshes perfectly with what you want. And I can help you, and you can help me in meaningful, profound ways. And I actually have a belief that if we all would, down to the ground, understand this system, we would understand that we are actually embedded in a system of potential win 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 win. But we have to all, well, you can't say that. Everybody has to do bleh. You can't say that, because we're all individuals and we will all bumble our way to it, each in our own time. We all have inner beings who are connected to all of each other's inner beings. My advice is just this: lean to the positive, know your own inner anatomy, your vibrational anatomy. So these are the 4 general states of being, and think of it this way: the specific is the gas, putting on the gas. Going to the general is putting on the brakes. So if you find yourself in a specific negative and you're having a real hard time, you're trying to bang out the solution out there at that specific negative point. You're looking at what you don't like, you're responding to what you don't like, it's very specific and you really don't like it. Well, maybe you need to be addressing the same topic, but you need to be doing it you always need to be coming from a positive place, because your negative aspect just means that you are in conflict, resonant discord with the vibration of that part of you that knows better. You don't want to be in vibrational discord with your broader perspective. Your broader perspective is trying to gently lead you where you want to go. Now, a little bit of, floundering around in the fussy places in your negative emotion is helpful for clarity, but I wouldn't go too far, and I wouldn't believe it. Your negative, it's sort of like a negative photograph that has all of the information of the positive one. The positive that looks correct, that feels better, the other one has all the information, even though it's not really the view you want to see. It's kind of the same way. But know that at any given time, if you are acting under the impetus of your negative emotion, you are acting in chaotic disorder to what you actually want, who you really are actually wants. I want to live my life doing the things that who I really am really wants. And that does involve a lot of really nice things, It involves all the things you really like. The way you interact with human beings, the way that the world looks around you, how I didn't finish telling us what we all want: freedom, love, kindness, peace, fun, recreation, time to indulge in such recreation. We want ecosystems that are living and vibrant and diverse and healthy and sustainable. We want abundance for all of us, enough food for everyone. We want water where it's dry. We want drainage where it's flooding. We want beauty. Those are all the things in general that all of us want. And quite frankly, it is possible for human beings to live on this planet and meet all of those. We can be sustainable on planet Earth. That's one thing that my general thesis is we can live in harmony on planet Earth, but we need to quit trying to organize ourselves through laws and forms that humans create, systems that humans create that are not co-created with Source. We need to organize ourselves along the way Source is trying to organize us. Now, we have our choices, we have our free agency. It's not like there's only one way that it can be done. There's a jillion different ways, but it's one spirit. There's a particular frequency that we have to plug into our source frequency. It's this allness, this wholeness, this organization of all of the spins in harmonic order. When we try to do it not connected to Source, we create this cacophony of chaos as all the spins collide with each other instead of flowing in a harmonious rendezvous harmony. I said harmony twice, but Source is organizing us. Source is trying to organize us. The way that we fall into the order of Source organization is by listening to our inner being, who knows what we want, who knows that we want this order, because this order brings sustainability, it brings happiness, it brings freedom, it brings diversity, and the freedom of diversity. It's what we want. It's what we want. Your inner being knows what you want. And knows what you want in a little way, knows what you want in big ways. You may be insisting that what you want is this little tiny thing over here. And you think, is it too much to ask that I have this little tiny thing over here? I am trying so hard to be part of this, whatever. And the problem is that your inner being is really not all that concerned about that, because you're looking too small. Your inner being doesn't want to give you that, not because it's too much, but because it's too small. It actually isn't what you really want. It will continue to perpetuate a greater system that's not sustainable, and your inner being knows that it's not sustainable because it understands, hey, these spins over here, they're colliding in this chaotic way it's not flowing. It knows what flowing feels like, looks like. Who are you? Who are you in any given moment, and how are you being? Who are you in reality, and who are you being in any given moment? Those are the two. What's the setup, and how are you aligned or not aligned with that setup in any given moment? Which way are you focusing? Which way is your mechanism turned? How can you tell? Does it feel good? Then you're turned right. You're turned clear. Green light, go ahead. Now, if you go in and out of feel good, don't feel good, feel good, don't feel good, feel good, don't feel good, then you're flowing with it for a second, and then you're stopping because the direction you were going is actually not sustainable. You don't believe it. It doesn't. So you've got as many positive trains going one way as you have negative trains going the other way, and you're not really going anywhere. You're just. If you aren't used to feeling good, then you... Wow. I'm going to lose it again here, which is unfortunate because for a minute there I had it. I had it going pretty good. It's not like I've lost the whole thought. I've lost that clear impetus of a fluid one thought flowing into the next one so that the presentation is good. So... back to my little picture, I notice that I've still got up on the board. 4 general states of being: specific, negative, general positive, specific positive. Think of the specifics as putting on the gas in either the positive or negative direction, and the general is putting on the brakes, although it really there is no brakes. You can't stop your motion forward, but you can take your foot off the gas, and that causes your forward momentum to slow a bit. So the general is the brakes and the specific is the gas. So if you're in a negative state, don't dial into the specific. If it's making you feel bad, dial back to the general. Feel around for any positive entrance point to the flow of positive, to where you can get specific on a specific topic from a positive perspective. Because whichever way you are focused and however it feels, that's the direction you're moving. And if it feels bad, then you are moving in the opposite direction of what you actually want. If you're feeling really bad and acting quite a bit, then you're moving very quickly away from what you really want. If you're feeling a little bit bad and not acting very much, or not at all, then you're not moving much towards what you don't want. But depending on what you let your thoughts do, whether you pull them back from that negative and find a better way into that. Maybe you need to look at the world situation. Maybe you need to look at it. So you're looking at something that maybe you need to look at the world's problems. What are the world's problems? I haven't even said that today. I have just a short list. Things like garbage island, too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, too much greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which is exacerbating an already cyclical global warming event, putting it into places where it's harder and harder for us to manage and keep equilibrium within our climate and such. That's a problem. The way we're poisoning the planet and slashing ecosystems, it's producing the 6th mass extinction on planet Earth of biological diversity. And we're snipping one by one the threads of life that hold us to life on this planet. And if we snip too many, it'll be hard to come back. Although I do believe that at any time, if we would come to our senses, realize who we are, realize what this system that we are embedded in actually is, understand that the spirit of this system that we are embedded in is a win-win. It's not a zero-sum game. It is not competition. It is win-win. And those of you who are thinking that it's zero-sum and competition, you are engaging in separate storms of chaos that are going to run their course and be quite destructive. I see them as storms of what I call Shiva energy, destructive energy forces. I'm not the only one who would call this Shiva energy, I suppose. I am not a Hindu, but I can see that as it's just what we do when parts of us create things that are unsustainable and imply that we don't know who we are, and we don't know what source energy is, and we don't know how it works. And it's not sustaining to all of us. It's not sustainable. It creates consequences that allow negative emotions to rise in the field. People are frustrated. They're frightened. They're frustrated. They're frightened. They're angry. Sometimes they're vengeful. They just simply are not understanding their own power in this situation. You do not have the power to, from the outside, bang, 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 the conditions into the shape that personally please you. And that's not how you do it anyway. Follow the guidance of your inner spirit, your inner being, who knows what you really want and where it's really located, and how to actually rendezvous with the best aspects of the best parts of what's going on out there. Because while there is a lot of chaos and problems, all of the movement towards the solutions is feeling really good to all of the human beings who are understanding how you move towards the solution. And if we'd all kind of generally get going that way, we wouldn't feel that collective despair that a lot of us are feeling, that collective angst. Do you know that the biggest pandemic of health issue going on upon the face of the planet, certainly in the Western world, in my corner of the woods, is freaking chronic anxiety syndrome? Everybody's frightened. They're so frightened because they're focused on, well, there it is. It all depends on where you are focused and how you're focused. If you are focusing on your conventional aspect of yourself made of meat, and then staring at conditions that are threatening and things that you don't like, and allowing your thoughts to spin into places where you don't feel good about that, well, first of all, being made of meat is kind of a tricky thing, because meat is very vulnerable. Have you seen what they can do to meat? It's edible, of all things. So remember, you are your two selves, and you're actually more that source self than you are that specific self that you are. That's just who you are right now. That's who you are experiencing in this moment. It's not who you really are. Who you really are is this vibrational being connected to all things. You are a continuum, an eternal continuum of intention and spin. I suppose the system might allow for your spin to disintegrate, but the fact is that you came out of the spin, the primordial spin. We are all one at the center of the center of the center of all things. You know, my presentation this morning has been kind of a collection of garbledygook. There's kind of a theme in there, but I'm a little more scattered than I usually am. I haven't felt... just been wandering around in my mind in this general state of where this allness of information lies. Okay. Source energy. So basically, as I ask this question, who am I? It's always in reference to who am I, in reference to source energy. What is the allness in reference to source energy? What's the source of the energy that runs the allness? It's a big part of the question of what is the allness. It has to do with how it runs. So the latest paper put out by Nassim and his group over at the International Space Federation and the Resonance Science Foundation, I think they are moving most of their active stuff from the Resonance Science, but I don't think that they are depopulating the Resonance Science Foundation. I think they're doing stuff over there too. I think that both sites continue to live on. I hope so. There's no reason to subtract one. We can have it all. This is the latest mathematical paper. The reason I bring this up, and I think that my job today is I'm going to add in a whole bunch more of the slides that come from, I just have this very inadequate, this one is showing how the Planck field of a proton, how it mathematically correlates. What is the relationship between the internal structure of the Planck field of a proton and all of the protons in all of the universe? And there is a relationship. There is an allness. There is the little is reflecting the large, and vice versa. I have much better slides coming than this. These are, I grabbed them from the paper itself, but there is a video explanation of that paper about 37 minutes long and very densely packed with the mathematics of it. I captured this from that paper, and I captured a whole bunch of them, and I'm going to add them to my program. Later today. And you will see the mathematics of this understanding of source energy has been done. Quantum and cosmological physics has been mathematically reconciled. Why haven't you heard that on the local news? The reason is because of all the implications of what this new understanding of the universe, what it implies about consciousness, about the direction of the answer. It's going to shake the foundation of every institution that runs our human systems right now, that allow us to grow food and distribute all things. It's going to shake the foundations of it. What it's going to shake the foundations of, and this is the one we really want it to shake the foundations of, is our use of fossil fuels. The only thing we should be using fossil fuels for, if at all, is for the making of the fabricating of materials made of plastic. We certainly should not be burning this precious commodity. If it's like burning the furniture in your house for warmth. You know, maybe you have to do it right now because it's freaking freezing, but you can see that wouldn't be sustainable or even what you'd want to do. So this new understanding of source energy is going to allow us to plug our technologies directly into the source of all energy. And we no longer will have to burn fossil fuels, even clean burning fossil fuels like natural gas, which is very not clean in the way that we extract natural gas from the rocks below us. Fracking is what we use, and it's noxious chemicals that we force into the cracks. It poisons our aquifers, our subterranean aquifers. It creates earthquakes in areas that shouldn't be having earthquakes. When some of that stuff mixes with the water, people have their water, you can light it on fire. I mean, it's a terrible thing that this is not the way we do it to the 21st century. If we want to make it to the 22nd century, this is not how we continue doing it. We cannot continue doing it. And so the good news is we don't actually have to continue doing it because the mathematical roadmap has been drawn up. And now the clever minds that we are so clever, we are so amazing. Look around us. There is so much evidence of how freaking wonderful we are. If every time you saw somebody or something that was amazing, instead of feeling the competition and causing it to make you feel bad about yourself, instead of that, every time you saw an amazing example of humanity, you identified with it instead and said to yourself, oh my God, we're amazing. We are so amazing because we are a we. We are a we. We are divinely a we. And people who want to emphasize the we-ness, stronger together and all that kind of stuff, in a way they are absolutely correct. We are a single morphogenetic field upon this planet, and we are stronger together. But we need to be stronger together from a place where we understand who we are and how this actually, in reality, how it works, not being bamboozled by the phantoms of our human imagination. We need to be locked into how reality is actually coming into being. And it is so much cooler than you could possibly it's so cool. Let's just put it that way. The universe is a cool place, and you are a blessed being in a very blessed system. Now, it may not seem like that to you, but that would be coming from you not understanding how your system operates and then not operating it correctly. If you're operating it correctly and you're understanding your place, your blessed place in this universe, I promise you, things are going well. Your life is amazing. Could be way amazing. So, let's get to that. How long have I? An hour and 20 minutes. Okay. Promise you by tomorrow, and nobody is going to watch this. I promise you, nobody's going to watch this. Maybe somebody will go back and watch it at some point after my general platform is already understood. They might go back as an archive and go, let's look at how she developed this. But nobody's really going to watch this. But tomorrow, I promise all of you listening, I promise that I'm going to have all my slides up showing, and then I'm going to put, I would like to embed a link to the explanation of the paper. That's a good idea. Let me write that down. Link to the explanation of the paper. Embed it in the program. Link to program. I can embed that somewhere at the end of the video so that people can go look for themselves. I should probably do a link to Abraham Hicks too, which, by the way, she's never heard of me and does not vouch for anything I've said because she's never heard anything that I've ever said. I'm not arguing with her, and I hope she doesn't argue with me. As a matter of fact, she's a deep inspiration to me. She's the one who gave me that last ingredient, that missing piece, that piece I was looking for, which is, how does it move? How does it move? I didn't understand the dual nature of myself, the very clear to see dual nature of myself, my two minds, and that the meaning of my negative emotions might be the blending or not blending of these two minds. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and for that piece of information I am deeply, deeply grateful because it explains a lot to me. And the fact that she calls it a vortex and spinning discs and things like that, made things light up in my mind. I'm like, oh, wow, it is focus. It is, oh, my goodness, look at how. And I didn't understand about the vortex of creation, how your inner being has been marking, taking note every step of the way as you have been walking your physical trail, taking note of all your preferences. You like this, you like this, you love this, you love this, you love this, you love this. It's actually all of your love. It's recording all of your love. And where you were in a place where you hated something, your love was still implied. You hate this war because the implication is, I love peace, I love peace. And every step of the way, all of your loves have been recorded. That's why your inner being is your love. It's what you love. It's all that you love. Everything that you love. And how in your physical life, as you have lived it, how as you have lived your life, you have put together material things combined with this love and identified, I love this, I love this, I love this, I love this. And there's an essence at the center of it that is always what you love, and there's a specificity in this moment as it connects to the physicality of this experience. And your inner being knows how to rendezvous you with the greatest parts of all of what you love as it comes around. And I don't know, hard to describe. Who am I? Who am I? And how does my better understanding of this from a very fundamental place help me live a better life, help me understand my positive and negative emotions so that I do not identify with my negative emotions anymore. I understand what my negative emotions are. They are me taking thoughts that do not resonate with my greater being, who is always positive. It means that my true self is a positive self. It's not negative. You are not negative, and no one else is. So who am I and who am I being? Two different things. If who I am and who I am being are not two different things, then I am in alignment with my greater self. And as I walk with that sensation going, I know that I am walking in the direction of all that my heart desires, my dreams come true, my happily ever after. And that's what I want. And that's what I want for you. And that's what I want for all of us. We have a collective happily ever after that involves peace, not war, that involves us playfully interacting with one another, traveling around the planet, visiting one another, experiencing one another's lives, one another's food, one another's nature. You know, I want to go see your crazy animals. You want to come and see mine. You know, I want to go see the platypuses and the what are all the bonkers things that Australia and New Zealand have. They a completely different set of animal flora and fauna than what I experience here on this side of the planet, with the bears and the coyotes and the, you know, whatever, the hawks and the eagles and different things. I want to go visit with my fellow human beings. I want to play with them and laugh with them and visit with them and sail with them and swim with them and dance with them and eat with them. I want to do that on a planet that is not dying, that I am not killing. That's what I want. And so the way to get there is we have to understand how Source is trying to organize us along harmonic win-win-win-win-win-win lines, along sustainable ways. We need to plug our technology into source energy and quit plugging it into fossil fuels. That we do not have to choose between a future filled with energy and technological advancements or a future filled with austerity, because we have to cut back on our energy use. That is not the choice. That is a false choice. The choice is learn to understand the source of all things, which includes the source of us, which includes universal consciousness and all kinds of things that we're just going to have to deal with when we truly understand the source of us and the source of all things. But we need to plug our technologies into it so that as we move towards our energy desires, we do not kill the planet at the same time. Plugging directly into source energy has practically no carbon footprint. We won't have to be rationing how much we turn the lights on, or how warm we keep ourselves, or how much energy we have to resequester the carbon from the atmosphere, or recycle Garbage Island, or desalinate billions of gallons of seawater so that we can rebloom the desert that we are growing at this time. We could shrink the desert instead of growing it. We could be the gardeners, the Adam and Eve, the gardeners of Eden that we were meant to be. We are not being that right now, but the reason we're not being it is because we don't understand source energy, and we are extracting our energy from fossil fuels. Period. Full stop. This is the path out of the wilderness for us. It is my deep belief that this is the way. Understand source energy, and then all things will be better. We will understand what our own inner spirits are trying to tell us, how they are trying to guide us towards loving, peaceful, kind lives of joy and abundance. And I think that's probably a good place to leave it right there. Have that be my prayer. That is what the future that I am keeping my eyes on. I am locking my focus upon that future. I know it is there for us. Our inner beings are all trying to guide us there, to this win-win-win-win-win-win-win land of loving, peace on earth, goodwill towards men. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you again tomorrow. If indeed you saw me today, I will see you tomorrow.